If the moon is artificial, who built it? And why? The ancient myths provide a chilling answer not from Sumer, but from the classical world. The Greeks spoke of a pre-human race, the Hyperboreans, who lived in a golden age under a different sky, a sky without a moon. Ancient writers like Aristotle and Plutarch reference the legendary Proselenes, a people who claim to have existed before the moon was in the heavens. This theory suggests the moon was towed into its current position roughly 12,000 to 13,000 years ago. This single act catastrophically altered Earth's axis, creating the seasons, the tides, and the 28-day biological cycles that govern our lives. It ended a global paradise and plunged humanity into a state of trauma and amnesia. But why? To create a controlled environment. The moon, this theory posits, is the central processor for a reality simulation. It broadcasts a frequency that acts as a perceptual filter, dampening our psychic abilities, locking us into a narrow band of consciousness, the five-sensory, material world. It is the source of the veil of forgetting. This leads us to the most shadowy part of the theory, the connection to Saturn. Across countless ancient cultures, from the Sumerian god Ninurta to the Roman Saturn, the ringed planet was worshipped as the primeval sun, the original ruler of the heavens. Its symbol? A black cube. The Kabbalistic symbol of God in Judaism is, esoterically, a black cube. The Kaaba in Mecca, the holy site in Islam, is a black cube. This symbol is ubiquitous in corporate logos and occult architecture today. The theory suggests this is no accident. The Saturn-Moon matrix is the architectural blueprint for our reality. The moon is a local relay, a subprocessor for the primary signal emanating from Saturn, the Lord of the Rings, and the true master of this cosmic prison. The elite bloodlines and the secret societies know this. Their rituals, their symbology of the cube and the compass, are not just tradition. The story begins not with clay tablets, but with two Soviet scientists who dared to challenge the foundations of cosmology. In 1970, Mikhail Vassin and Alexander Sherbakov of the Soviet Academy of Sciences published a radical paper titled, "Is the Moon the Creation of an Alien Intelligence?" They were not fringe theorists. They were respected academics, and their hypothesis was built on a mountain of astronomical anomalies that mainstream science simply could not explain. They argued that the moon is a hollow, planet-sized spaceship, an ark engineered by a race that perished long ago, or a monitoring device of unimaginable age. Vassin and Sherbakov pointed to the Apollo seismograms. When the lunar module ascent stages were deliberately crashed back onto the moon, the resulting moonquakes made the entire celestial body ring like a bell for over an hour. As one NASA scientist noted, it was as if the moon had a light, fragile interior, perhaps even hollow. The moon's density is another glaring anomaly. With a density of 3.34 g/cm superscript 3 compared to Earth's 5.5 g/cm superscript 3, the moon is far too light for its size. This suggests it is not a solid rock, but a shell, perhaps with a vast, empty interior or an incredibly light, metallic honeycomb structure. But the most damning evidence is its impossible orbit. How can a satellite be so massive relative to its planet? The moon is a quarter the size of Earth, a ratio unheard of anywhere else in the solar system. It doesn't rotate like a captured asteroid. It presents one, perfectly synchronized face to us at all times, as if locked in place by a master engineer. Its orbit is precisely calibrated to perfectly eclipse the sun, a statistical miracle that should be virtually impossible. Coincidence? Or the signature of a designer? The academic world, of course, dismissed them. The giant impact hypothesis, that a Mars-sized body called Theia struck the early Earth, blasting the moon into orbit, became the sanctioned, tidy story. This leads to the ultimate question. How do we break free? The conspiracy runs deep because the controllers are not just hiding the moon's origin. They are actively maintaining the system. Projects like HARP are not just for weather modification. They are part of a global network designed to reinforce the lunar frequency fence. The push for a global 5G network is not just about connectivity. It's about creating a dense, electromagnetic grid that further synchronizes our consciousness with the simulation. But the system is not perfect. It has glitches. These glitches are what we call the Mandela effect, collective memories that don't align with current reality. Luke, I am your father versus no, I am your father. The Berenstain Bears versus Berenstein. Are these simple memory failures? Or are they moments where the simulation is updated or repaired, leaving behind traces of a previous version of reality? Near-death experiences provide another clue. Those who have crossed over consistently report a life review, a feeling of unconditional love, and a reality far more vivid and real than our own. Are they momentarily disconnecting from the lunar signal, experiencing base reality before being pulled back into the simulation? The awakening is happening now. As more people question the nature of reality, meditate, and expand their consciousness, they are essentially finding exploits in the code. They are weakening the signal. The increasing chaos on Earth is not just social or political. It is a systemic reaction to a growing number of users realizing they are in a prison and starting to rattle the bars. The final conspiracy is that the world's governments are not preparing for a planetary impact. They are preparing for a system-wide awakening. The lockdowns, the censorship, the control. It's all a desperate attempt to keep the human mind pacified and disconnected, to prevent a mass realization that could crash the program entirely. The greatest prison ever built is one the inmates do not know exists. Its walls are not of stone, but of perceived reality. A deception woven into the fabric of our sky. A lie broadcast by a silent, silver sentinel that has watched over us since the dawn of time. This is not a story of a planet returning. This is the story of a satellite that was never supposed to be there. A truth hidden in the orbital mechanics that defy physics and encoded in the world's oldest symbols. This is the story of the moon matrix. The theory is as terrifying as it is elegant. That our moon is not a natural celestial body, but an artificial construct, a hollow observation post built by an ancient, hyper-advanced civilization. Its purpose? Not to mine gold, but to harvest something far more precious, human consciousness itself. But this is not just a story of the ancient past. The moon is the key to a system of control, a frequency fence that limits our perception and traps our souls in a cycle of reincarnation within this terrestrial laboratory. Tonight, we embark on an epic journey from the bizarre anomalies of lunar geology to the classified remote viewing programs of the Cold War. We will decode the global worship of the black cube of Saturn, follow the scientific hunt for a simulated reality, and expose the chilling conspiracy that the elite have known this truth for generations and are using it to maintain their power. The question is not are we alone, but are we free? And if we are not, what happens when the simulation finally glitches? Before we dive deeper, power up that like button and prepare for the revelations to come. Tell me in the comments what you see when you look at the moon. And as always, the visuals are here to guide us, but the true journey is one of thought. Thank you for your unwavering curiosity. Prepare yourself and let's dive in. But this theory is riddled with its own problems, failing to explain the moon's unique composition and precise orbital mechanics. To the conspiracy-minded, this official narrative is a smokescreen designed to placate our curiosity with a palatable, naturalistic lie. They are a form of worship to the architects of this system, a way to align themselves with the power that controls the simulation itself. So, is the moon an artificial construct? Is our reality a simulation projected from the rings of Saturn? In a literal sense, the evidence is a labyrinth of anomalies, myths, and forbidden science. But in a psychological sense, the moon matrix is already real. It is the system of beliefs, frequencies, and controls that keep humanity in a state of fear, separation, and limitation. The return of Nibiru promises an external apocalypse. The revelation of the moon matrix promises an internal one, a singular, terrifying, and liberating choice. Do we accept the reality broadcast to us by the silver screen in the sky? Or do we dare to look past it, to remember who we were before the moon was in the heavens, and to reclaim the infinite power of our own consciousness? The search for the truth about the moon is, and always has been, the first step in hacking the simulation and setting our souls free. The evidence is not only written in our myths and etched into our satellites. It is being revealed at the most fundamental level of reality, the quantum realm. What physicists are discovering at the subatomic level eerily supports the simulation hypothesis and, by extension, the lunar matrix theory. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrates that particles like electrons exist in a state of probability until they are observed, at which point they collapse into a fixed state. This implies that reality is not solid and predetermined, but is rendered by observation, much like a video game renders graphics only where the player is looking to save processing power. The moon, in this model, could be part of the rendering engine, stabilizing the collective observation that keeps our reality coherent and locked in place. Furthermore, the concept of quantum entanglement, where two particles remain connected across vast distances, instantaneously influencing each other, suggests an underlying unity to the cosmos, a base reality of oneness that the lunar matrix is designed to obscure. The simulation's purpose is to keep us trapped in the illusion of separation, of individuality, which fuels the conflict, fear, and lush, a term used in esoteric circles for the emotional energy harvested from sentient beings, that may very well be the gold this system is mining. This leads to the most disturbing layer of the conspiracy: the soul trap. Ancient Gnostic texts and modern-day accounts from hypnotic regression and near-death experiences often describe a similar phenomenon. After death, beings of light, the guides or the loving relatives, greet the newly deceased. They encourage the soul to move toward a brilliant, comforting light, a tunnel of overwhelming love. But dissenting voices warn this is the ultimate trick. The proof is in the anomalies, the glitches in the matrix that the controllers have tried to hide or explain away. The transient lunar phenomena, TLP, for centuries. Astronomers have recorded strange, fleeting lights, color changes, and gaseous mists on the lunar surface. NASA's own archives contain hundreds of reports. These are officially dismissed as outgassing or meteor impacts. But what if they are evidence of internal activity, maintenance, or even energy emissions from within the hollow moon? The Apollo discrepancies. Why, after the monumental achievement of the Apollo missions, did we suddenly abandon the moon for over 50 years? The official story is a lack of funding and public interest. The conspiracy suggests otherwise. Whistleblowers from within the program, like the alleged secret space program insider, have hinted that the astronauts were warned off. They witnessed things they weren't supposed to see. Ancient ruins, non-human structures, or perhaps the very machinery that powers the lunar construct. The famous missing Apollo 11 telemetry tapes are seen as evidence of a cover-up to erase the most damning footage. The Van Allen belt anomaly. The Apollo missions passed through the Van Allen radiation belts, zones of intense radiation surrounding Earth. NASA claimed the short transit time and the spacecraft's shielding were sufficient protection. But critics and some scientists have argued the radiation levels should have been lethal, or at least caused significant long-term health issues for the astronauts. Was their path somehow cleared for them? Did they travel through a protected corridor? A scheduled downtime in the moon's defensive or operational systems, implying a controlled access to our satellite? If this is true, then the ultimate act of rebellion is to awaken and break the cycle. This isn't about building bunkers, it's about shifting consciousness. The awakening protocol is not a physical plan, but a spiritual and mental one. Question reality. Embrace the Mandela effects and synchronicities not as curiosities, but as clues. They are cracks in the facade. Train your mind to see the illogical and the impossible as potential doorways. Reclaim your energy. The system runs on fear, anger, and division. Choose love, compassion, and unity, not as passive emotions, but as acts of defiance. By refusing to generate the low vibrational energy the system harvests, you starve it. Strengthen your sovereign consciousness. Meditation, mindfulness, and introspection are not just relaxation techniques. They are hacking tools. They allow you to quiet the external signal and connect with your true, sovereign self that exists beyond the simulation, the player outside the game. Remember the goal. Upon death, the ultimate test awaits. The teachings from various traditions are clear. Do not go into the light. Do not follow the guides. Call upon your highest, most sovereign self, your true source, or the divine beyond the demiurge. Demand to return home to source, beyond the recycling station. The global elite know a mass awakening is possible. Their increasing push for a transhumanist future merging man with machine is their ultimate countermove. If they can't keep your soul in an organic body, they will try to trap it in a synthetic one, permanently hardwiring your consciousness into their controlled grid, making escape impossible. The battle for Earth is not for land or resources. It is for the very consciousness of every soul on the planet. The moon has been the subject of poetry, romance, and wonder for all of human history. But what if its true purpose is the opposite of inspiration? What if its gentle glow is the soothing light of the prison yard, designed to make us forget we are inmates? The question is no longer, is the moon artificial? The real question is, what are you going to do with this information? Will you dismiss it as science fiction, or will you look up at the night sky and see it for what it may truly be? The largest piece of architectural evidence in a cosmic crime scene. The walls of this prison are perceptual. The keys are hidden within your own awareness. To break free, you must first realize you are inside. The Matrix isn't a future possibility. It is our current reality. And the moon is its beating, silent, silver heart. The awakening is not coming. It is already here. The only question that remains is, are you ready to log out? This false light is a recycling station, a sweet, loving trap that erases your memories and prepares your consciousness for another round of reincarnation back into the simulation. The moon, according to this darkest of theories, is the physical anchor for this recycling process. It is the Reaper's gate. Its specific frequencies are tuned to capture the astral body, the soul, upon its exit from the physical vessel, luring it back into the cycle. The black cube of Saturn represents the source code, the cold, logical, and impersonal algorithm of this recycling program. The elite worship this cube not out of benevolence, but out of a desire to understand and manipulate the very rules of the prison they are in, hoping to secure a privileged position for themselves in the next cycle or, perhaps, to escape it entirely. The data is there, but it is fragmented, dismissed, and ridiculed. The conspiracy is not one of a single secret, but a systemic suppression of a new paradigm. Mainstream academia and media act as the firewall for this control system, programming the masses with a materialist, nihilistic worldview that dismisses consciousness as a byproduct of the brain and the cosmos as a dead, mechanical void. This belief system itself is the most effective prison wall.